On this episode of the Star Trek Universe podcast, we are talking about Nepenthe, Star Trek Picard, episode 107. Right after these commercials, or singular commercial that we have no control over.
Welcome to the Star Trek Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson.
What's up, buddy?
Oh, you know, starting to get sick again.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Getting that corona?
No, but, I hope not.
Glad we're doing this over Skype, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. A friend of mine told me that if you get the coronavirus, you really have to get Lyme disease with it because the corona's no good without Lyme.
That's true. It's true. Man, it is pretty... It's silly how many jokes are coming along with the fact that we have a disease that is running rampant named after a beer. Not named after a beer, clearly, but, you know.
Yeah,
we also have a beer.
My favorite was someone took a picture of a beer cooler that had a bunch of different beers in it, and all the beers, except for the Corona, had face masks on.
That's good. I like that a lot. All right, Let's get into this episode, man. Nepenthe.
Yeah, man. Yep, which is basically just the whole episode is just fan service to me. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just Picard hanging out with Troi and Riker and their kid.
Yeah, I mean, there's really very little happens in this episode. One major thing happens, and that's the death of Hugh, which is I hated, man. I'm really, really sad about that. Yeah,
I kind of understood because I could hear the anger from the TNG fans, so many fans. Like, I haven't even looked online or anything, but as soon as he, got hit in the throat, I was like, people are going to be so pissed. Because after the Echeb thing, they were like, why can't Seven and Echeb just be happy? Why do they have to take that away from us? And now it's Hugh as well. Like, nope. Not only do all of the people he's been helping get killed, but so does he. That was a tough pill to swallow. And not only that...
Well, I will say, it wasn't all the people. Just 5 people that he's helped. I thought... Because we haven't seen that many, and so I was actually worried that it was all of the XBs. But then at the end of the episode, he tells them that he has to go. He needs an XB to get in, or whatever, to the Queen's chamber. So there are other XBs. Apparently, this was just a group that was with him at the time when he was attacked. Right. Which I was a little annoyed that the whole, not physics, but what exactly happened between last episode and this episode? Why was Elnor not by Hugh's side? Why? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I wish we had there's easy headcanon you could make, but it was obviously just something they didn't feel like writing, or they just were like, well, we know we want Hugh to die here, so we're just going to make it so that Elnor's just gone for some inexplicable reason, which I don't know. I was bummed by that.
Yeah, I was confused. I haven't had time because we do these right after we watch the episode, so I haven't had a chance to go back and I wanted to go back and look and be like, okay, so that happened, and now I'm looking at this episode and going, where was the disconnect? Did he get trail off fighting those other guys?
Yeah, it doesn't.
After the doors closed?
Last we see, he's fighting the guys as the doors close to the Queen chamber, and then and then he just shows up, and he was alone. Now, you could easily say there was some sort of thing where Elnor was like, okay, Hugh, head this way. I'm going to go this way and lead them away or something. You know, there's like I said, easy headcanon to be done. It just was kind of annoying.
Yeah, he did that very thing when he kind of pushed him in the other direction and was fighting Golden Glider.
Golden Glider.
I don't know her name. Evil Romulan lady.
Right.
Peyton List. I know her real name. When I think about it. She was Ivy on Gotham and she was Golden Glider on The Flash, and I'm going to think of those two.
Yeah. Well, so I guess we can talk through this episode. The episode begins with a flashback of a Jurati meeting with Commodore O.
Yeah.
What'd you think of this flashback?
It made me go, oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So she's totally Vulcan.
Yeah, for sure.
We got that answered.
Which we thought was the case, but she is a Vulcan. Also, the one thing I'm disappointed at in the entire deal, and obviously, I was just kind of hoping this was the Conclave of 8 that we were seeing. But it's 10 people.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's about. So we see, man, the stuff that we see in this little flash is interesting and crazy. We see crazy destruction happening on various worlds. We see what looks like
someone shooting themselves in the head, someone ripping skin off of their own face to reveal android parts, I guess. Is that what?
Yeah. Oh, so that seems to me to allude to the secret that we're waiting to find out what the secret is. That seems to me to allude to the idea that at least some species, whether it's the Romulans or the Vulcans or whatever, are a form of AI, like we talked about. That's definitely a possibility. Or this could be an actual flash of the future. We just don't know if this is we don't know if these flashes we're seeing are metaphorical flashes or like actual views of an actual future that somehow have been communicated to Commodore O.
So here's a thing that I thought of. It might be just completely stupid, but what if she is from the mirror universe and she has the knowledge of what happened to their universe because of AI?
That is one possible way you could look at this for sure. Yeah, it's not bad.
The sunglasses are still bothering me, basically. The sunglasses, I still need to know and what that's about. But sunglasses
don't bother me. Why would they?
They only bother me because they're so... it's such a specific thing to put into a show.
Sure.
That I feel like it is an actual story point.
Right.
Like I feel like they're hinting at something. And we don't have any idea what is going on with the Mirrorverse this far into the future. We've never seen that far along the timeline in the Mirror universe. So if it turned out that everyone was AI or something crazy like that, or if we just know what happened, if we just know what the AIs did in the Mirror universe, and then someone from that Mirror universe came over and wound up convincing the Romulans that the same thing could happen here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's just, I guess the question is, where do those memories come from? They're standing around some sort of device. It seems like this, I'm going to call them the Conclave of 10.
What was the device? Could you tell what it was? Could you tell what it looked like?
It looks like...
Does it look like an obelisk?
No. I would not say it looks like an obelisk. Okay. It looks like... I'm trying to get... I really hate that you can't pause.
It's hard to pause.
You can't pause CBS All Access. It shrinks when you pause it. So
yes, it does.
Really annoying, especially for a Star Trek fan who wants to freeze frame everything. So I end up having to just take screenshots of everything, and then I have to go look at the screenshots. But it's just really annoying.
Yeah.
Why didn't you make this more for me specifically?
Make it to where I can rip it.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Anyway.
I know what you're saying.
Anyway, so yeah, well, in this moment of this episode, you really just get to see it exploding. It looks like whatever's in the center is like dispersing energy and smoke. But some of the things that we do see 3 people killing themselves in some way. We see one person bashing their own head with a rock. We see one person shooting themselves with a disruptor, and another ripping their own skin off as if they're trying to reveal what's under. There is not android parts. I thought that maybe too when I first saw it, but it was so quick. Watching it in slow motion, it's just blood. But all 3 that are killing themselves, all of them have green blood. So,
okay.
Either Romulans or Vulcans. I'm thinking these are all Romulans, and that whatever the secret is, it's the secret of the Romulans. And I'm just leaning toward the secret is that the Romulans are AI. Maybe even Romulans are AI invented by the Vulcans, and that's really the truth of their...
wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Have we not talked about that theory? I know I've had it before. I didn't know if we talked about it on the show, but yeah, the idea that like the whatever the rift between their cultures was in the distant past was because it was a rift between like creator and created.
Oh, that would be fantastic. No, I don't think we have talked about that.
Oh, really? I don't know why. Then we get one of the shots that really intrigued me in this episode is when we see Rafi looking at her, like at the sketches from Soji's room. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
She's like quickly scanning through the pictures and obviously recognizes the pictures. Mm-hmm. So, and we know that she was investigating all the stuff with the Conclave of 8 and whatever, all the stuff they say that her son says to her. And so, and she believes in all these conspiracy theories. So I think that she just had some shit confirmed, I think, or at least realizes that some of the stuff going on here with Soji and the Romulans relates to the stuff she was investigating with the Mars attack. That's the way I took that. It's a very short moment, but that's well, I guess it's a lot to take. But she just seemed a little too interested in those drawings.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm watching all this mind meld in slow motion now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I had to. It's a lot. It's
like man.
It's a lot of stuff, a lot of destruction.
Gosh.
Lots of planet-wide destruction. Looks like multiple planets being destroyed, a major city being destroyed on a planet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we actually get a better look at whatever that conclave of 10 is doing. Which is just what I'm calling them until they tell me otherwise. It is doing some. It shows. I'm pulling it up to look closer now. I don't know if this is interesting podcasting. Us looking at what's going on in this episode. I mean, we're basically trying to figure out what's going on with all of you in real time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we should probably get to talking about Riker and Troi and where they are in their lives, because I think that's all really interesting character stuff. But from just like a geeky what is going on the overall plot, there's some interesting tidbits in this episode with that mind meld. And what do you think? What do you think Hugh was doing when he's telling Elnor to go activate the Queen chamber?
The Queen cell? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because it worried me that he was like reactivating the cube as a Borg cube.
I don't know, but did you see the clip for next week?
I did, but I didn't see anything. I guess I didn't catch anything of what you're talking about.
I want to watch that in slow motion because to me, it looked like, and I had not thought about him saying to go activate the Borg, the Queen
cell.
But to me, it looked like 7 of 9 becoming the Queen. Like her eyes were like black or something.
Oh, I did see something like that. I saw her with like, it looked like Borg, some sort of green like cables leading to her.
Yeah.
Man, what kind of twisted thing would that be if 7 of 9 became the big bad that they had to face as the Borg Queen?
That'd be pretty crazy, man.
That'd be pretty crazy. And like, we know the Borg had, what if 7 of 9's like entire re-release into human society was like a deliberate plant so that she could later become the Borg Queen with more knowledge, similar to what we've seen from okay, so I'm looking at the preview for next time. It's like a water source in the middle of the Conclave of 10. There's like there's a water source with like some sort of lasers around it. So that's what's going on there. But yeah, what if 7 of 9 is like her whole experience on Voyager and everything was just her learning humans so she could conquer them better as a Borg later, or as a new Locutus, or as it were, you know?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can see like this like energy table. Oh, and there it goes exploding. Yeah, these are definitely Romulans.
I'm talking about at the Conclave of 10.
And, yeah, they're like ripping the skin off their faces, which, you know, so Soji has skin and blood, you know, and
sure.
Yeah, so I mean that doesn't.
Yeah, Romulans could be the original flesh and blood androids.
Yeah, and of course, if someone created that, it would be the Vulcans. I'm really excited about that theory now. I really want that to be true.
Yeah, it's cool. And it looks like one of the things you see in the clip for next time. I feel bad. We're skipping to the clip from next time instead of talking about what's happening in this episode.
Yeah, but it's all relating to
it. It looks like traveling through a transwarp conduit as well.
It does.
There's a moment. It looks like they're traveling through a transwarp conduit. We see Elnor. No. I'm sorry. We see a bunch more XBs being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see 7 of 9 hooked up to a bunch of Borg tech, and looks like she's really freaking out. So whatever that means. Okay. Prima
show.
This it's just exactly what I want, man. I know there's a lot of people out there not liking what's happening with Picard, saying it's whatever, too different. I don't know what everyone's complaining about, honestly, because I just think it's exactly what I want. I want a good story that moves forward, that keeps me guessing. And yes, I want our characters like Picard to have the same sensibilities and the same care for others and all the stuff that like I want out of Star Trek. And I want our leadership on the show to have like good morals.
Yeah.
But I don't need I don't need episodic Star Trek Next Generation redux, you know?
And I've seen a lot of people complaining that they want the episodic television back, and that Star Trek is supposed to be episodic. And I violently fight against that notion.
Yeah, same here.
That, I mean, if you know, you guys want to tout IDIC, infinite diversity, infinite combinations, then surely you can see that Star Trek should go along with that theory as well. Like, that we should have lots of different kinds of Star Trek. You know, infinite combinations of Star Trek to appeal to a broader base. Here's the thing. My brother-in-law, Spencer Roeder, does not like Star Trek, is currently watching and enjoying Picard. and has actually he's listening to our show and is actually getting more interested in previous Star Trek to some degree because of what's going on in Picard.
Yeah, he was talking about going and doing our Picard primer that we did a rewatch of all those episodes, just to be able to, understand fully what's going on this show. And it's exciting because they've done a good job of selecting themes for this show that like highlight some of the best episodes of Star Trek Next Generation and Voyager, and like give people a reason to go watch that old stuff. Because honestly, it's dated at this point. I love Star Trek, but it is dated. It's not the kind of TV that is made and it's popular and keeps people watching these days.
Yeah,
this show is, and I love it, man. But I say all that to say this episode, if I were a brand new watcher, this episode would probably mean the least to me. They did a really good job of making me care for Troi and Riker, even if I didn't know them. All the stuff with them having lost their son.
Oh man, that's
sad. Yeah, really, really sucked. I really hated it, but I also loved their description of him. I loved his what is his he call the planet? Oh, Ardani. Yeah. He has his planet Ardani that meant home to him because he grew up on spaceships. That all was very cool. It was very neat. And the fascination with the home world and them tying that to what's currently going on in the episode, which is Soji trying to find her homeworld. Right.
And I was sitting there going, why did they have to kill off a kid from the Rikers? Like, why would they do that? Because that's another sad thing that people are going to be upset about. And I'm sad if there's not like a good reason for it. And then for them to be like, it was a little on the nose. And kind of gave me like an eye roll, but then I wound up going, you know what? No, I like the way they're tying that in. Like, he could have been saved by synthetic life. That was really, really nice. If they weren't outlawed, he could have been saved by that, and he wasn't, because all life is important, not just organic life. So I wound up really, really liking that and thinking that was important to the story. And
it showed some unintended consequences to the ban and some sort of like destruction that it has wrought to these poor people.
Right.
And I liked that. But it also just gives us some complexity and pathos for the Riker and Troi characters going forward. And I don't think it's a mistake or a... I don't. We keep talking about spin-off shows here, but
you don't think when he was like, it'd have to be a really good reason? You like, oh, that's a spin-off?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. When he says, I'm still on active reserve, but it'd have to be a really good reason to get me out there. I was like, oh, that's the Riker show, or that is the classic end of the season where you get Riker showing up to save Picard's ass in the final episode on a ship of his, on a Federation ship. We haven't even seen a Federation ship on this show hardly at all.
Yeah.
And if we get through 10 episodes and have barely seen a Federation ship, and then suddenly the full TNG music plays as a Galaxy class starship barrels down on the planet with Riker in command, it would be, and then he beams Picard aboard and gives him the con. Like, it would be good, man. It would be real good.
I don't know, man. I don't know. You'd have to explain a whole hell of a lot. Okay, he's on active reserve. That doesn't mean he's got a ship.
No, but he also probably has lots of connections, and who knows what he starts doing as soon as Picard leaves and how long it's going to be before the end of the season. I'm just saying, like, it's that kind of line that provides just enough, like, that line provides enough believability for me that, like, they could do something like that he could get a Federation ship. It doesn't have to be a Galaxy class. That's more just for fan service, but he could show up in on a Federation ship and, you know, do what he needs to do. But honestly, a Galaxy class starship in this era is old. Who knows? That's probably something he could get a hold of.
Oh man, and now I'm speculating too much, but I'm like, dude, what if he went to O'Brien? Like in my head, O'Brien and Tom Paris have. This is something I've been talking about for years. There's a couple of people out there, like 2 or 3, seriously, who know that if I were to do, like, I've been talking about wanting to do some sort of story set in the future where O'Brien and Tom Paris start hanging out over a love of old ships and start a shipyard where they fix up old Starfleet vessels.
That's great.
So, like, I don't know. It's just something I would love to see.
Yeah.
But
no, that'd be wonderful. Yeah, when they kept talking about Captain Crandall this episode. Mm-hmm. I thought we were going to get to meet Captain Crandall, and Tom Paris is who crossed my mind. I was like, I could totally see Tom Paris, like, marrying someone and changing his name to Crandall.
Well, he's married to B'Elanna, though.
Yeah, 30 years ago. Like, who knows? Yeah. That's what, you know. So that totally, I was just like, who could Captain Crandall be? Like a guy who like runs an old shipyard that like Riker doesn't like that much, but the kid likes. I was like, who would that be? And I was like, Tom Paris. It should be Tom Paris.
I don't know. Well, she did say he was older than Picard.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, at the beginning,
that's right.
She's like,
she says
he's even older than Picard.
Yeah, he says he's an old guy. I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. So again, the heart of this episode is the Rikers or the Troys. Not sure who took whose name.
I don't know. I know the kid is named Troi Riker.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, they probably did the hyphenate thing. I loved seeing them again. I loved getting them. I loved her like, let's go have dinner, and we're gonna pretend this dinner table is the ready room, and we're gonna talk about this.
Yeah.
I liked her calling out Picard for being too hard on Soji. Mm-hmm. She's just it's the classic role of her to try to inject a little heart into his sort of thought process, especially around younger people and understanding where they're coming from.
Yeah.
It was classic, man. So good.
Yeah. I felt like Troi and Riker were both very, very on point here. That their characters didn't seem off. It didn't feel like they had spent any time away from the characters at all. I would even venture to say it felt more off in some of the TNG movies than it does here. Troi especially felt a little off in Nemesis and Insurrection to me, but felt much more in character here.
Yeah. I was concerned just because it seems like they're doing this with everyone in every reboot or like soft reboot type thing we get. I was concerned that Picard and Riker's relationship would be really complicated, or like, I guess partially because of All Good Things. There's that whole thing where he goes to Riker for help and Riker won't help him. And I was just kind of like, man, I hope nothing has happened, and nothing had. They have the same complicated relationship as just friends who know each other well and know each other's faults and know each other's pain, but like they don't. They were just friends, and when Riker says, "Oh man," and he like pulls him in for a hug, I was like, "Oh, that's so nice."
Yeah, that was really great. I really loved seeing Picard interact with both Riker and Troi. It felt so it felt uncomplicated. It felt like they were meeting as equals. As family. I loved all of that.
Yeah.
And I'll gladly go on record as saying, not the biggest Riker and Troi fan. They're probably my least favorite characters on TNG, but it was great to see them. It really was.
I feel like Riker particularly I think Troi is complicated for other reasons as a character, but liking her is complicated because she is sort of just she's sort of weird, and she's almost like her Beta Z ability to sense emotion is used so weirdly and spottily, and like sometimes it's almost another form of technobabble. Like she's just a source of information on the ship, and she's like she reminds me of like Uhura. She's like a source of information, but it's emotional information this time. But she's also hot. Like it's like
the best thing that I felt like Troi ever really brought to the table was being there in a sounding board capacity. Like she was really great about being the compassionate, almost like a mother figure to most of the crew, being able to get them to come out of their stodgy, evolved Roddenberry shells to be humans for a second. Yeah. And have realizations about themselves. And she did a great job of doing it here. And they wrote her really well. So yeah, I have no complaints.
I agree. I think she was everything she needed to be in this. And the best parts of her from TNG. I like her a lot. But Riker, I know I've mentioned it when we were doing our TNG reviews, but I always felt like he just never got a chance to thrive. He's number one, he's the second in command, and he kind of always felt to me like there was more potential there that wasn't being realized, and he could be doing something. And that is his arc. Like he's constantly having that question of like, do I need to stay here? Do I need to move on? Am I not getting as much out of life? Am I not doing as much as I could be doing? And I took that to heart. I think he's in Picard's shadow for the entirety of TNG. And not necessarily that he doesn't need to be there. That's not where he should be, but he is in Picard's shadow. And it was interesting to see him here, as you said, meeting as equals. And I loved when his daughter says he's the greatest captain of ever, and he says, "Oh, well, I must have been drinking." Like just that sort of old friends, like not being able to admit the deep respect they have for each other.
Yeah, which seeing that they came to that world, and he is on reserve, but he's like, yeah, it'd have to be something really big to take me away. That's exactly how he was about the Enterprise. This is at some point during TNG, maybe because of the Enterprise itself and the crew, the family he created there. Riker realized that his life full of pursuing career opportunities was hollow. Mm-hmm. And decided that family was more important. That's why he stayed on the Enterprise all those years. And he stayed on that planet even after his son was dead. They moved there because of his son, because of the regenerative abilities of that world, of the soil, of the atmosphere. Yeah. And he decided to stay there because that's where his son loved to be, and it's beautiful, and that's where his family is happy. And he's just content now. And that's a really cool arc in a lot of ways for Riker. He did become a captain, but he's done that now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's really nice. And I think it's interesting. It's interesting my take on Riker because maybe it reveals my own priorities because I always see him and I'm like, you could be doing more. You could be like doing more, but like he is someone who has always made the choice to be with his family ever since like whatever season 3 or 4 of TNG when he starts getting offered captain's chairs. He's always chosen his family over his career, and I'm, maybe it reveals a little more about me than it reveals about Riker. My feelings about Riker. Maybe he's just a wiser man than I.
I think it was in Best of Both Worlds where they said that he'd been offered the captain's chair twice before, And I think it may have even been like the first couple of times that he said no. It was because he was like, no one has experiences on other ships, even as captain. No one has the kind of experiences that you have on the Enterprise. Yeah. We're on a certain type of mission. I want to explore. That's what I'm here for. I want to see that. And then at some point it became about family. And maybe it was maybe it was both.
Yeah.
But, his career always got in the way of him and Deanna. His career always got in the way of family. And, we've already seen that guy. His name was James Kirk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's very much the Riker paradigm for sure.
Yeah. But I'm happy to see I'm happy to see the Kirk paradigm. It really should be. Go in a different direction. Riker took the path that Kirk never could bring himself to. He settled down and he found someone to live a life with. He had a family. And I like seeing how that worked out for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, that's what I meant, by the way, was that the Kirk is the paradigm for Riker.
Right, yeah.
That's what I meant. But yeah, I really liked this episode. It's really fun. It's like it ratcheted up the tension in a lot of ways with the stuff that's kind of going on the edges, but it was also just a moment for Picard to rest and hang out with old friends, and for us to see these interactions and the character stuff that they did for Soji and Picard, pushing us toward these final episodes.
Yeah,
it's great. It's great. Really wonderful.
Yeah. By the way, I really like Kestra. I really like their daughter.
Me too. And her age made me, again, I was like, spinoff?
Yeah, I did too, actually.
I was like, I could totally see, their son was the older one who never had a home world. And so he always longed for a home world. And then they gave him a home world and then he passed. And then she is the daughter that's lived on the homeworld for her younger years. I'm sure she was on but now she's probably going to be like Picard and long for the stars.
Yeah, maybe.
And I just think that's that could be interesting if what is she 13 or 14, 15 in this? So like
I'd say 13, 14,
somewhere
12
in there.
Maybe.
Yeah, she looks like mid-teens to me, like 15-ish. I don't know. They didn't say. But she could easily in 3 or 4 years join Starfleet, and or even like, I don't know how young you can go into Starfleet Academy, but she could be 18 or 19 and be on a Starfleet vessel. Like by the end of Picard, she could be out on a Starfleet vessel. Yeah, it'd be real neat to see a Riker show up on a ship with Picard at some point, or with whoever, like just be neat. Just it's neat to have her introduced into the lore.
Yeah,
it's just this show, man. It's just Star Trek is so important to me that every character that gets introduced, I'm like, well, I want to know everything about what their life is going to be like and what it has been like, and give me more. I fill in all the blanks. We were working on an episode this week for MCU Cast, where we were talking about Marvel movies and what blanks we want them to fill in, like kind of like they did with Captain Marvel, where they go back in time and fill in kind of past stuff. We're like, someone commissioned an episode where they want to know what we want them to fill in, what gaps do they want to, we think they should fill in. And but like I realize that's something I kind of have to be asked to do with the MCU, which I also love, but like with Star Trek, it's just my natural predilection to everything, everyone that is brought up. I'm like, well, I need to know everything.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of knowing everything, I found an Easter egg.
Yeah. How about we talk about Easter eggs then?
You want to? I kind of want to talk about the rest of the episode too. Like, I'm really sad that Hugh died.
Me too. Although how he died was really badass on Narek's sister's part. Yeah, I really loved Narek's sister fighting Elnor and saying Elnor fought this whole group of Zhat Vash and kills them all handily, just kills them all. Yeah. And then she stops and says, "This is not how a Zhat Vash fights a Qowat Milat." And then she puts her weapon away, and then she beats him through subterfuge because that's the power. As soon as she did that, I was like, oh, she's going to lie. She's going to do something deceptive. And that's what she did. She pretended to go after a different person, or I think she pretended to go after him, and then out of the corner, like without looking, she threw a knife at Hugh to distract. Like, she used deception and subterfuge to like win that battle, because Elnor doesn't know how to do that. He goes into every situation and he looks at everyone. Where they're looking is what they're looking at. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And Elnor doesn't have that power of deception. I love it. I loved it so much.
Yeah, that was really great. Yeah, but I hated seeing Hugh die. I really did.
Me too. I hated seeing the XBs die in front of him right before he died.
Yeah, that was rough,
awful,
man.
So awful. It was a really bad death for Hugh, and that really does depress me. And I know there will be people out there who hate it. I might be one of them. Maybe I am one of them. I might hate it a little bit, just because they brought him back, and they don't give him. I wish he had died saving those XBs or something instead of, I guess he kind of was. Like, he was on a mission to wrest the Borg cube from the hands of the Romulans because he didn't trust them with it. And so in a way he was on a mission to save the other XBs, but it would have been nice to have been able to see some of their faces as he's like standing up for them, you know what I mean? Instead of like seeing every XB we've ever seen die and then he dies. Like, it was just kind of it was poorly done in that respect. It was a real bummer. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Alison Pill, Dr. Jurati, she's got a tracker in her.
Yeah. Or she did.
She did. And I guess she's taken a compound to destroy it that might kill her, put her in a coma. I definitely feel like they are redeeming her and her actions. Like, she's trying to kill herself, either kill herself or possibly kill herself to get rid of this tracker to save the crew. She, definitely had a severe emotional motive for what she did to Bruce Maddox.
Sure. I don't know if I agree that she's necessarily being redeemed, because I don't think she did that to save the crew. I think she did that to save herself. At least that's an interesting thought. That's another way that it can be viewed. I don't know. And I think,
but she was very upset because she did what she, when Rios thought it was, when he thought it was Rafi, whatever her name is.
Yeah, but I think that, to me, that was more her being upset that he was on the trail of what was actually going on.
I read that completely differently than you did.
Interesting. Yeah, I did. I mean, to me, it should, her purging it from her system as soon as he thinks of it and tells her about it. To me, that's her covering her tracks more than it is her trying to save Raffi. Plus, I don't think she had the sense that he was going to like hurt Raffi. He was just going to like investigate or something.
But she so adamantly was like, it's not her. If she didn't want him to be on her scent, she should have said anything. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not saying that she doesn't care about Raffi and doesn't care about Rios, but I also think that she has not yet taken enough pains to redeem herself. She's still, in my mind, doing things that could be construed as just helping herself. Mm-hmm. There's a line I didn't understand in this episode. What's that?
Well, there's a couple lines I didn't understand in this episode. Soji, it's Soji stuff, and I want to understand more about what's going on with Soji. Well, I guess I do understand it now that I look back. She when Soji finds out about Dodge, and finds out about what's real and what's not from Picard, then she says, "Just get on with the mind game." Mm-hmm. I guess that was her assuming that this was going to be a mind game because everything she's ever experienced was a mind game.
Yeah.
What about when the little girl, I forget her name,
Kestra,
thank you. The little girl runs up, still say the little girl, Kestra runs up to Soji and hands her the compass and says, "You just have to pretend it works."
Uh-huh.
What does that mean? Did I miss? I'm sure it's from a conversation they had.
Yeah, Soji asked her if she had ever lied to her before, and Kestra said, "Well, sort of. I'm not really one of these people or whatever." And then she said, as she was like holding the compass, she's like, "Also, this compass doesn't work."
Oh, I gotcha. You just have to pretend it works. Interesting. I wonder if that compass will come into play. Like if
I'm sure.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it will. And I wonder if it doesn't work because this planet doesn't have the same sort of magnetism we have on Earth. So a compass doesn't work there, but wherever they're going, that the magnetic needle is going to help them in some way.
Yeah, maybe. That's a good call.
Yeah, you just had to pretend it works. It just seemed like it was supposed to be I guess it was just her whimsy. I don't know. It seemed like such a touching, important thing for her to say, but I didn't get why it was important.
I feel like one of the more cynical viewers might say that that's the writers telling us, you just have to pretend it works. The line itself? No, the show.
Oh, I think it mostly works.
Yeah, I think it mostly works. I do. I just feel like someone is probably sitting there going, "Yeah, that's their motto, isn't it?" Now I'm going to get on and make a angry YouTube video.
You're right. That is a cynical view.
Yeah,
Yeah. I thought it was weird that Troi couldn't read Soji.
Because she's an android.
She could read data.
No, she couldn't.
I thought she could. I just watched. You sure? I feel like I just watched episodes where she was like, yeah, no, she definitely could. In the episode where Data gets emotions in Descent.
Oh, Descent.
In Descent, she reads him and she's realizing he has emotions.
That's weird. Maybe
she just realized he had emotions through other things other than her Betazoid ability. I guess that's how I could headcanon it. But I want to say that she says she could read him. It's because she reads emotions and normally he doesn't have any. But Soji definitely has emotions. And in the one moment we know that Data had emotions, she could read him, I think.
But wasn't Lore doing some kind of weird thing where he was like beaming emotions into Data, ramping them up?
Yeah, for sure.
Really intense emotions.
For sure, but the intensity shouldn't matter. Soji's going through pretty intense emotions as well.
I'm curious.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and check that, but I think that's the case. A couple episodes ago we were watching Generations, and I pointed out the connection to Watchmen that I noticed, which is the people who made Watchmen were big Star Trek fans, and there's a moment in Generations where there's a horseshoe and there's eggs, and it's in a little country farmhouse, and horseshoe and eggs are two things that played heavily into the Watchmen series. And I was like, and I forget, there was one other thing in there that he says, and it all tied together. And I was like, it feels like it feels like Watchmen was intentionally referencing this Star Trek scene, which is weird. Oh yeah, it was about what's real and what's not. And they were in the Nexus. In the scene in Watchmen, where they're having the same sort of is it real or is it not sort of thing happening. One of the reasons you don't think it's real is a character takes a big bite of a tomato and it doesn't taste right. and he spits it out. And in this, they're having the same discussions about is it real or is it not? Like talking about, synthetic life. They're talking about replicators and how Soji's never actually had a non-replicated meal. She's never had actual food. And they use tomatoes as the thing that she eats first. And
that's funny.
It was such a interesting connection to Watchmen that I like, especially going back and forth where I thought the Watchmen was intentionally referencing Star Trek. And now it feels like this might have been an intentional reference to Watchmen. I don't know if there's any writers that are related to both shows, or yeah. Well, Lindelof. I don't know.
Lindelof,
yeah. It's definitely a lot of the same. Did Lindelof write on Star Trek? I can't remember.
He wrote. He's connected to Kurtzman, and he wrote on at least Beyond, or I think it was the second one in Into Darkness and Beyond.
Okay,
he has written with Kurtzman and Orsi and Abrams.
Yeah, I'd really like to know if Lindelof and the other team that's they're all friends or whatever. I'm really wondering if that's like an intentional connection, talking about reality versus synthetic, tomatoes being like somehow connecting those things. It was really, by the way, really interesting.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. But so far, I'm just kind of glancing over this, and it talks about Data telling Riker and Troi about his emotions and her being worried about it, but it doesn't say anywhere that she felt that he was angry. Like, Data flat out told Riker, "Hey, dude, I just experienced rage."
Okay, interesting. All right, I may be misremembering, and it may not even be that scenario that I may be remembering a different scenario. I just could have sworn that, or maybe it was one of the other lore. I've watched a lot of lore episodes in preparation for this, and maybe it was one of the other lore episodes. Maybe it's that Troi sensed lore. I just remember noting it because I remember being like, oh, I guess she can sense the androids when they have emotions. And maybe I misread it, or maybe it was one of those things where they wrote that in at that point, but then they decided that's not how they wanted to write it past that. I don't remember.
Yeah, and I can't remember. It seems like she could sense the crystalline entity.
Was that synthetic?
Well, we don't know what. I don't know what it was.
Yeah,
it was the thing that destroyed Data's homeworld. That was like that they came into contact with. That Lore contacted. You remember?
Yeah, but she can also sense all kinds of different life. It's something about in this. They act like because Soji's an android, she can't be read. And I mean, it could be easily headcanoned that this particular kind of android is not readable. But anyway, I just thought that was an interesting aside. I thought for a second when they're on the ship and they say, we have we have a hospitality emergency. When she throws up the red velvet cake, that was pretty great. But that
was fun.
It never shows up though, at least in that moment.
Yeah.
And I thought for a second that Jurati had turned the holograms off because one of them witnessed what she'd done.
Oh, that would be interesting.
It would have been, but then at the end of the episode, one shows up. So, and I don't know how their mind works. Do they all have the same memories? Does the ship operate as one mind, or do they all have separate? Is the EMH the only one that knows what Jurati did?
I should think they all have separate memories. What would be interesting is if that was actually brought up because of basically the synthetic civil rights thing that they're doing this season. About how they all have separate memories and keep that to themselves, even though it goes into the same database, because they believe that they are separate individual beings. Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
But what I really want to happen is I really wanted the hospitality EMH to pop up, and then they're like, "Why didn't you come? We called you for the hospitality emergency before." And they're like, "There's no such thing as a hospitality emergency."
Yeah. But the EMH does pop up at the end of the episode, and to help Jurati. Does the EMH not have like a need to let the captain know what Jurati did?
Did the EMH see what she did? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, that's the end of the episode. Like, he's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, deactivate EMH.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She deactivates the EMH as she kills Maddox. Man, they are
interesting.
Really running through the small characters that they're bringing back.
Yeah. It's a bummer. I'm a little worried for Riker and Troi now.
Me too. Well, I'm particularly worried about Troi and the daughter.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because he said it'd have to be a really important thing for me to leave here. Like, and a vengeance mission if someone were to mess with his family is a thing that I immediately thought of. So, like if, heaven forbid, but if this all goes down and the Zhat Vash go after them for harboring Picard, and then let's say Troi is killed and Riker and his daughter have to get on a ship and take off to run away or stop whatever's going on or stop whoever's chasing them.
Yeah. It's like a more elaborate version of what she just pulled with Elnor and Hugh.
Yeah.
Tries to go after the Rikers and...
Yeah, because they know what's going on with everything.
Yeah.
That would be bad. They do seem to have a pretty good security setup, though.
Yeah, that was dope.
That was real dope.
I dug that.
That was real
I was
dope.
like, yeah, you do.
Yeah, that was real cool. I really liked, probably from my... We often talk about our favorite quotes. One of my favorite quotes to this episode was Troi saying, "I'm not as brave as I used to be." She has children, you know? And then his response was, "Then you're getting wiser."
Yeah, that was great.
But really, just a classic line.
My favorite line was something about the being ass deep in Romulans for the rest of your life.
I liked that a lot. I think Picard having a mission is one of the most important things. Like, I felt really good about that. There's this whole conversation about how Picard has a mission now and how he's alive again and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, my second song of this season was Into the Cold. And it is about him going back into the cold and how it makes him feel alive again to have a mission.
Yeah.
Totally. Like, I feel really good when my songs like resonate with things that haven't happened yet. It feels real nice. Yeah. It feels like I know these characters and I know where they're going well. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was real good. Like, he basically has the exact conversation with Riker that I elucidated in that song. And I was like, yes, that's rad. So kind of fun. Anyway, I guess that's about it, man.
I have that Easter egg if you'd like to hear it.
Oh
now.
yeah, I'm sorry. We kind of jumped through. What you got? I feel like there were a few Easter eggs. I did not do a good job tracking them. What you got? What Easter egg do you got?
I just stumbled upon this one, but Colonel Thaddeus Riker was wounded at the Battle of Pine Mountain, Georgia, in late June 1864. He was carried back from the front line by another soldier who was actually discovered in 2372, namely the Voyager episode Death Wish, to be Q, or Quinn. And they were photographed together shortly after the incident. So Thaddeus Riker, who was the ancestor of William Thomas Riker, who would not have existed were it not for Quinn intervening and saving him, is the namesake for their son, Thad.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
That is cool. That is really cool.
I was just kind of...
What episode did we find that out in, I wonder?
Death Wish, Star Trek Voyager.
Okay. And I guess they just... I'm not sure if I remember correctly. Was Q did Q bring Riker out there? Is that right?
Yeah.
Didn't Riker appear on a Voyager episode? I'm really fuzzy on the details.
In Death Wish, they had because Quinn wanted to die. He was a Q who wanted to die, and they were going to hold a hearing to see if he should die, or if the Q should take him back or whatever, keep him locked in an asteroid or whatever the hell it was they were going to do. And they brought Riker, or Q brought Riker in.
Very cool. That's really, really cool.
For a second.
I love that. I love the connection to that Voyager episode. That's probably shortly before he had that child, you know?
Well, he was still in his TNG uniform.
Oh, so they brought him from the TNG days?
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. He wasn't even in his Generations uniform.
That is weird. That is weird.
Isn't it?
Yeah. All right. Well, any other Easter eggs you think of?
No, not really. I didn't notice anything else.
The only thing that I definitely noticed, but I couldn't bring up all the specific episodes, is the number of things she said that Data was like. She describes Data to Soji and a bunch of like specific things that he wanted to be able to do. Like, I'm such a bad memory. But I'd have to go watch it again. But
tell jokes and dream and all this. Yeah. Those were references to specific TNG episodes for sure.
That's what I'm getting at. So those are some cool Easter eggs. So, but other than that, I didn't really catch much in this episode. It's not a very Easter egg heavy episode because it's just on its face. It's just a big fan service episode. You know, it's like, it's not an Easter egg. It's just Riker's right there. They're just talking about things in the open because they can, because they were all there.
They use an Easter egg for him to even be able to get to that world. He's like, it's just a crazy impulse that I had. It was just knee-jerk reaction that I came here for shelter.
Nepenthe is the name of this episode. That's the planet's name?
Nepenthe, I think.
And Rorapenthe is the planet from Star Trek 6, is that right?
Yes, the prison world, the Klingon prison moon or whatever it was.
I wonder why Nepenthe and Rurapenthe have such similar names. I wonder what Penthe means.
I don't know.
I'm sure that's a thing we could find out.
Maybe. That might be a thing. Are you typing it in?
Yeah, I'm trying, but with limited success. I typed in Penthe etymology, and it came out with Panther etymology. Nope, it's not helpful, Google. Not helpful. It's just,
Rurapenthe is the name of a fictional penal colony in the following works.
Yeah, I wonder what Rora and Penthe mean and what, let's see.
Well, it was a penal colony island in the 1954 Disney film 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Okay, so that's just a direct reference to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing here. So, but yeah, I wonder what, I guess new, I mean, obviously new can be used like New York, New Mexico.
Well, it was N.E. Penthe.
No, I know. Oh, is it Nepenthe? I thought it was N.E.U. Penthe. You know, you're right, Nepenthe.
Oh, this is what it's referencing.
Okay, great. You found it.
It is referencing a drug described in Homer's Odyssey as banishing grief or trouble from a person's mind.
Grief or trouble. A drug banishing grief or trouble from a person's mind. Now, what does that mean in this context? Obviously, we've got the grief and trouble of loss of Data. We've got the grief and trouble of loss of Thad, of Dodge. We also have the grief and trouble of whatever the Romulans are, whatever the secret is. We also, speaking of purging from your system, we also have the radioactive element tracker that Jurati is purging from her system. So there's a lot of stuff going on with with that name.
Yep. And it's written by Michael Chabon, or co-written by Michael Chabon. So, he likes his Odyssey and his Greek myths.
Yeah. Interesting. Nepenthe. Read that description one more time. A drug.
A drug described in Homer's Odyssey as banishing grief or trouble from a person's mind.
Grief or trouble. I like that. There's a lot going on there. I feel like I want to go through every one of those troubles that we just talked about and talk about what is the drug in that scenario. Like for Soji losing Dodge and the loss of even herself, really. This young child is kind of the drug, the sort of balm that she needed. And also Picard himself being her like sort of protector and just this sort of like family that she's happened upon. I don't know. There's just every one of these little troubles has its own own medicine. Yeah. Every trouble has a trouble. That's what they always say. All right.
It was in the Bible.
Probably. Bible or Shakespeare. I don't remember which. All right, guys. Well, I think we're done. You done?
Yeah. We have Nerdy-tastic asked us, do we know who is currently commanding the Enterprise in the Star Trek Picard timeline? And what version is it? Is it the FG-LMNOP? I don't think they've said.
I really like the LMNOP. So apparently the Enterprise F is in Star Trek Online. I keep seeing people talk about it. So, that's spottily canon / not. They're definitely bringing things from that into this show. They have been anyway, or into the future of Star Trek here and there.
They have both included it and contradicted Star Trek Online canon, as well as Star Trek Countdown.
Yeah.
The Orsi and Kurtzman book.
Right. Oh, you mean the not Picard Countdown? You mean the other countdown from 2009?
Countdown 2009. Even though Online and the Countdown 2009 came together in a lot of ways and made that it coexist.
Well, and this happens a lot. A lot of what happened in Countdown is referenced in Picard. But yeah, so there's an Enterprise F supposedly in the, we don't know is the answer, but in Star Trek Online there's an Enterprise F. I don't remember who the captain is, or if it's someone, even if it's someone we know. But they have used the ship design in the Picard Countdown comics as the ship that Picard was on was the same class as the Enterprise F. So that's a little bit of a connection to this show. But other than that, I don't think we have any idea. I really like the LMNOP though. I think they should just have it be the Enterprise LMNOP.
Right. The captain, by the way, was Vakel Shawn of the Enterprise F. So in Star Trek Online canon. But I don't know. Around the same time, Data was, or B4 having evolved into Data, was the captain of the Enterprise E during the time that
Picard Countdown.
No,
the other Countdown, 2009 Countdown. Sorry.
So around the time the Hobus star exploded, by that standard, it should have been B4 as Data, but they said on Star Trek Picard that Data or that B4 never became anything.
Yeah.
So you can't trust that shit, is what I'm saying. Yeah. We don't know.
Comics, Countdown stuff, it's always iffy.
Yeah. I mean, it happened in a parallel reality. That's what you got to say.
Sure. You got to say that.
You have to. It's
Federation
important.
law, man.
That way you can enjoy everything. Mm-hmm. You can go, well, this is a little slightly different reality.
Yeah, man.
I'm good.
Sure.
Look at this. Let's see how this one plays out.
All right. Well, I got to go to bed. It's 4 a.m, so I'm gonna get this edited and posted and go to bed.
Sure.
Any other pieces to say there, Dave?
I got nothing.
All right.
I enjoyed this episode.
Me too. So we'll be back next week with some more Picard talk. Yeah. I guess I'll throw the last week's song at the end of this one, like I did last week. So hope y'all enjoy that. This is oh
my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
What are you an idiot about?
Kestra was the older sister of Deanna Troi, the one who died.
Oh, great.
That's an Easter egg.
That's a good Easter egg. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah. Okay. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
So this show is so well written, or so like lovingly written, I guess I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, so good.
That was from TNG Dark Page. Man.
That's great. That's really great.
Yeah.
Well, guys, again, this is the song from this week, or from last week's episode. This song is called "I'm Not the Only One," and it's a little different, little poppier, little electronic. That was a lot of fun to work on something a little different this week, and it's about Picard and his realization that the XBs can also be saved like he was, and that's from last week's episode. All right, peace.
Jolan True, and live long and prosper.
Dang it, I'm never going to remember. Jolan True. It was supposed to be so easy to write you off as just another lost soul. But when you put your hands on me, helping me not to fall. I didn't think it possible, but could this be that maybe there's hope for those who aren't me? I'm not the only one to lose myself, then fight to return to the right side of monsters and men. It seems most monsters are also victims. Yeah, I'm not the only one. I look out at a sea of faces. They march with such a hatred for me. But all our time is wasted when we turn away from opportunities to look a little deeper and see if there's a way to connect as people and tear down what's in the way. I'm not the only one to lose myself, then fight to return to the right side of monsters and men. It seems most monsters are also victims. Yeah, I'm not the only one. There's a comfort in the us and them. The fear helps you know you're on the right side. But the fear will lose its power when you look them in the eyes and try to resist your pride. I'm not the only one to lose myself, then fight to return to the right side of monsters and men. It seems most monsters are also victims. Yeah, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.